Oliver.
Hello.
We're going to be starting off in the papers with the same top story we've had in the news and in the business, Ukraine.
Yes, it's pretty much all over the place. Liberation's front page reads the Ukrainian spring, using a very familiar expression to convey the hope that lies in the hearts of many in the country. Now, the paper's editorial inside is headlined Young, and it says that Ukraine needs to make thorough reforms to its political and economic systems, and that there's no guarantee that Ukraine's politicians, including Yulia Tymoshenko, will not fall back into their bad old ways. And it concludes that Russia will be lying in wait, and that today's victor must accept a shared identity with the Russian-speaking minority if Ukraine is to continue to exist. And the Catholic daily Le Croix strikes a similar tone with the headline Ukrainian Hope. It says Russia's gambit, which initially was beneficial to Ukraine backfired, and that Viktor Yanukovych, a little bit like Bashar al-Assad, has been a bad client for Moscow.
And speaking about those sort of Russian-speaking and more pro-European parts of Ukraine, of course, that's a big part of the conversation now, isn't it? Russia very much looming large in the picture.
Yes, it is. The 20 minutes front page asks, change and now what? And it notes that an interim president has been appointed and a national unity government formed, but that the country remains divided. And L'Humanité, which of course is a communist daily, has its headline, Why We Rose Up. It reports that ordinary Ukrainians have had enough of social injustices and the arrogance of oligarchs, and that they want an end to low salaries, low pensions and unemployment. But Libération also has an interview with former Georgian Minister for European Integration, Thornica Gordzadze. And he says now is the EU's moment of truth on further integration to the east. Ukraine, of course, did not sign the association accord with the EU last November. And Gordzadze adds that Vladimir Putin envisages a 21st century Soviet Union without the communism, and that the EU must step up its efforts to bring former Soviet countries closer to EU accession.
Okay, strong anti-Moscow words there from the Georgians. And of course, the EU's Foreign Policy Chief, Catherine Ashton, heading to Ukraine later on today. So we'll see what happens there. Back here in France, though, Oliver, there have been protests here at the weekend as well, quite big ones, against a proposed new airport.
That's right, and they've caused ructions within the government. Le Figaro's front page headline is Things Between Ayrault and the Greens in a Bad Way, referring, of course, to the Prime Minister, Jean-Marc Ayrault, while the business, L'Opinion's main story is Ayrault Green with Rage. That's a reference to Housing Minister Cécile Duflot, a member of the junior coalition partner, the Greens, who gave her support to those protests against the airport at Notre-Dame-des-Landes near Nantes in the west of France. And Nantes is Jean-Marc Ayrault's backyard. He's the former mayor of the city. And the protesters have been attacking him, saying that one of their slogans is Aéroport, no thanks, which is quite a clever pun on the French word for airport.
Pun, don't they?
Yes, yeah. It goes down quite well. And Ayrault is rather exasperated by the situation, particularly as the protests turned violent on Saturday. And now he's asking the Greens to get down off the fence, basically tell them which side they're on. And of course, it's not the first time on which the Greens and the larger socialist coalition partner have publicly disagreed.
So how do things stand for the Greens in the government? Is that coming out in the papers as well?
Well, nobody's terribly sure. I mean, things may not be that great for Jean-Marc Ayrault himself, because Libération says that François Hollande is likely to reshuffle his cabinet between the municipal elections in March and the European elections in May. Now, apparently this is to protect the Stability Pact, and also he doesn't want the Stability Pact, which of course was signed with French business leaders, and he doesn't want it to make it look as if he's reacting to what will likely be a bad result in the European elections. But of course, having disclosed this in advance is a little bit counterproductive, you might think. But as I said, Jean-Marc Ayrault could be a casualty of it, because relationships between him and Hollande have actually deteriorated quite badly in the last 6 months.
Okay, plenty to look out for on the political front here in France. Thanks very much, Oliver Farry. Back a bit later on with another look at the international newspapers, of course. We're going to take a very short break for the moment here on Live from Paris. So coming up, our special focus report. Now, some say it's unnatural and a threat to ancient traditions, but Germany's industrial-scale farmers are leading the way in Europe, and they're teaching their French neighbours some agribusiness lessons. Stay with us for our special report.